In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to throw two bowls with split rims and alterations that kind of look like a flower and also a square. The advantage of doing a split rim is sometimes it can hold glaze and it looks really, really pretty. So I'm going to start off the centering process like I usually explain to my students. I recommend to my students who are beginners to cone about 3 times, making sure that the base of the clay is centered and not wobbly against the bat. Then they make it into the hockey puck. And when you drop the middle, I leave about 1/2 inch at the bottom. And this, by the way, is sped up just a little bit. When I open, I make sure that I kind of lift my thumb so the interior is rounded, like what I was just trying to show there, so it does not have a corner in the bottom. Now, when you're throwing a bowl, I recommend that you just throw it into a cylinder first. So don't start flaring it and shaping it right away. As beginners, they start doing that and then they don't have enough at the base of the wall and it starts to fall. So you can see it still looks like a cylinder, but what you can't see is that the interior still has a rounded bottom. And then once you get it fairly thinned, and it is just slightly thicker at the base of the wall because I need to have support when it flares out, then you start to shape it and pull it out a little bit more when you get it down to about the thinness that you need. So flaring it a little bit more there, and I'm trying to keep the rim just a little thicker than perhaps normal, and I'm just going to compress it there. And I didn't mention it, but I made sure that I am cleaning out the slip before I start to do the alteration. So now I've just taken the wooden knife and I've split the rim. And once you split the rim, I always recommend that you smooth and compress those splits. So with a sponge, I'm making sure I don't have any sharp spots. And it really has to be quite centered in order to do that. Now I'm going to use the rounded side of that tool. I place my fingers on either side of the tool on the inside, and then I push inward. Now, to make it symmetrical, I go immediately opposite of it, and then I'm going to divide the remaining portions into thirds. So I'm actually going to end up with a 6 segmented kind of a flower shape. Again, fingers are on either side of the wooden tool as you push inward. And I just kind of tweak it, double check to make sure that everything looks symmetrical, that I don't have any that are looking irregular. Now I'm going to trim a little excess at the base of the wall because I want to make it a little easier to pick up. And of course I could leave this on the bat, but I'm going to wire this off and remove it to a wear board. I encourage my students to do this because we don't have enough room for all the bats in the cabinet, and we don't have enough bats. Now I'm going to start the next one, and the next one is going to be thrown in the same manner. So I'll just review that really fast. Again, when centering, I recommend to my students cone it about 3 times. You should have the base of it so there's 0 wobble at the base where it meets the bat. Cone it, push down, cone it, push down. Make it into your hockey puck. Again, when I drop the middle, I leave about 1/2 inch at the bottom because I want to have adequate room so I can trim a base, trim a foot ring, making sure that the interior is rounded. Then I'm just going to pull up the wall into a cylinder. Now I happen to be using a sponge. Different people like to throw in different ways. Whatever works best for you personally is fine. Then again, I'm getting all the slip out of there. You don't want to alter it and then find that you haven't cleaned it. It's much harder to clean after you've altered. Now I'm taking the edge of the knife, just splitting it a little bit, and then again I'm going to compress the split And again, this really has to be centered in order for you to do this. If it's off center, you're going to have difficulty with it. Now this one's going to be square. I'm just starting by making my first point with my finger, but then I kind of decided I wanted something a little bit more precise. So directly opposite, I'm going to make the next corner and then divide those into 4s. Now trimming these, I will show a different video on how you can trim pieces that are not round. So you can check that out. Then I'll trim away some of the excess again. And I do that before I wire it to, again, make it slightly easier to release and pick up from the bat. And here I'm just tweaking the last little bit of squaring it because I could tell by looking at it from directly above it wasn't quite perfect. And now I'm going to wire it. And when I do go to pick it up, I always lift up one edge first. So I picked it up on the far side away from me so I could hold it in my hand. And again, it has to be stable enough and thick enough at the base to do that. I will show how to trim these in another video, and I will link that in the video description so you can see how I get that done.